The airport was buzzing with life, but Tunde felt numb as he stepped off the plane. The humid Lagos air pressed against his skin, a sharp contrast to the crisp, air-conditioned life he had left behind in America. A decade in Houston had turned him into a man of status, wealthy, respected, and admired. He had built a business, sent money home religiously, and ensured his mother and younger brother lived comfortably. But all of that was gone now. His business partner had vanished, leaving him to take the fall for fraud. His bank accounts were frozen, his assets seized, and before he could clear his name, he was deported. At the arrival hall, he spotted his younger brother, Kunle, leaning against a car. The moment their eyes met, Tunde knew something was wrong. There was no relief, no warmth. "Welcome home," Kunle muttered as he tossed Tunde's small suitcase into the trunk. The drive home was silent. When they pulled into the driveway, his mother, Mama Funky, stood at the door. Her eyes roamed over him, not with concern but calculation. "Tunde, what happened?" she asked finally. The lump in his throat was unbearable. "I lost everything." Kunle let out a dry laugh. "So you came back with nothing?" Mama Funk sighed, shaking her head. "This is bad." Tunde frowned. "Mama?" But the look in her eyes told him everything. She wasn't just disappointed. She was ashamed of him. The dinner table, once a place of warmth and laughter, was silent. Tunde barely touched his food, but Kunle ate without a care, stuffing his mouth with the meal Tunde had once paid for. "So what's your plan?" Kunle asked, casually picking at his teeth. "I'll start over," Tunde replied, forcing confidence into his voice. "I just need some time." Kunle smirked. "Time won't pay the bills." Mama Funk set her spoon down. "Tunde, you know how people talk in this neighborhood? You were our pride. What do you want me to tell them now?" Tunde's chest tightened. "Tell them the truth." His mother's eyes darkened. "That my son returned home as a deportee? A failure?" The words stung, but nothing could have prepared him for what came next. That night as he lay in the guest room, he heard whispers through the thin walls. "What are we going to do with him?" Kunle asked. "He can't stay here forever," Mama Funk muttered. "People will talk." A cold realization settled over Tunde. His own family was planning to get rid of him. Tunde woke up to the sound of shuffling outside his door. When he stepped out, his heart dropped. Strangers were in the living room lifting his suitcase. He turned to his mother. "What's going on?" Mama Funk folded her arms. "You need to leave." Tunde's blood ran cold. "Leave? Mama, I have nowhere to go." Kunle leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "That's not our problem. You're a grown man." His mother nodded. "You can't stay here and ruin our reputation." Tunde's hands clenched into fists. He had given them everything. He had built this very house, and now they were throwing him out like a beggar. His suitcase hit the pavement with a dull thud. The front door slammed shut behind him. Tunde stood there staring at the house that was no longer his. The world had turned its back on him. But if they thought this was the end of his story, they were wrong. Tunde dragged his suitcase through the chaotic streets of Lagos. The noise was deafening, cars honking, street vendors shouting, the scent of roasted plantain and exhaust fumes mingling in the humid air. But Tunde barely noticed. His mind was clouded with one thought. He had nothing left. His own mother had shut the door in his face. His siblings, whom he had sent money to for years, treated him like a disease. He had called every contact he knew, but no one wanted to be associated with a deportee. He stopped in front of a rundown roadside motel. Flies buzzed near the entrance, and the paint was peeling, but it was shelter. He checked his wallet. Only 7,000 naira left. It wouldn't last a week. The room was as bad as he expected. Stained walls, a bed with a sagging mattress, and a flickering bulb. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his reflection in the cracked mirror. Who had he become? Just months ago, he was living in a luxury apartment in Texas, driving a BMW. Now he was nobody. A deep anger burned in his chest. His family had abandoned him, but they would regret it. He wouldn't be their failure story. He clenched his fists. If Lagos wanted a monster, he would give them one. Tunde knew he had to act fast. His money was running out, and Lagos was an unforgiving place for the weak. He spent his days wandering the streets, looking for any opportunity. On the third day, he met Dio, an old friend from secondary school. "Tunde?" Dio's eyes widened. "You look different." Tunde forced a smile. Life happened. Dio smirked. You need cash, don't you? Tunde nodded. Dio leaned in. There's a way. It's risky, but it pays well. Tunde hesitated. He had always made his money clean, but desperation had a way of blurring morality. That night, they met in a dimly lit lounge. Several men sat around a table, their faces shadowed by flickering candles. They weren't ordinary businessmen. This job, Dio whispered, involves transporting certain goods. No questions asked. Tunde swallowed hard. He knew what this meant, smuggling. You in or not? One of the men asked, his voice low and threatening. Tunde thought about his family's rejection, his empty pockets, and the hunger gnawing at his stomach. He had no other choice. I'm in. The men exchanged glances and nodded. Tunde had just stepped into a world he didn't understand. Tunde sat in the back of a black SUV, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. Dio handed him a brown package. Don't open it, just deliver it to the address on this card. Tunde nodded, gripping the package tightly. The address led to a high-end apartment in Victoria Island. He knocked on the door, and a burly man answered. You're late, the man growled, snatching the package. He reached into a drawer and tossed Tunde a thick envelope. Tunde opened it. $2,000 in crisp bills. More money than he had seen since his return. As he walked away, his mind raced. This was easy money, but at what cost? Dio was waiting outside. You did good. Ready for more? Tunde hesitated, then nodded. He was in too deep to turn back now. The jobs kept coming. Each delivery paid more. Within weeks, Tunde moved out of the motel and into a furnished apartment. He bought new clothes and even sent money home. But his family never called back. One night he met Fadik, a beautiful and ambitious journalist. She was investigating Lagos's underground trade. You're different, she said, sipping her drink. What's your story? Tunde smirked. Just a man trying to survive. But Fadik was sharp. She noticed the way he avoided details. She wasn't just curious. She was suspicious. Meanwhile, Dio had grown greedy. One evening, he burst into Tunde's apartment. We've got a problem. Tunde frowned. What now? The police are on to us. Someone's been talking. Tunde's stomach dropped. He thought of Fatika. Had she figured him out? Tunde sat in his apartment, staring at his phone. His mind raced. Who had betrayed them? Was it Fadik? He needed answers. He called her and asked to meet. They sat at a dimly lit cafe, tension thick in the air. I need to know, he said, voice low. Are you investigating me? Fadik held his gaze. Should I be? Tunde's fingers curled into a fist. Drop whatever you're working on. It's dangerous. Fadik leaned in. Then why are you involved? Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. Dio, we've got a big job tonight. Meet me at the warehouse. Tunde hesitated. Something felt off. That night he arrived at the location. The air smelled of gasoline and sweat. Boxes of unknown cargo lined the walls. Dio handed him a package. We move this. We're set for life. Then, sirens. It's a setup, someone shouted. Panic erupted. Tunde dropped the package and bolted. Police flooded the warehouse, guns drawn. Dio disappeared into the chaos. Tunde ducked behind crates as bullets whizzed past. Then, a sharp pain in his shoulder. He had been shot. Heart pounding, he clutched the wound and ran for his life. Tunde stumbled into the dark alley, his shirt soaked with blood. He gritted his teeth, pressing his hand to the wound. He couldn't stop now. He heard shouting behind him. Footsteps. The police were close. A black SUV screeched to a halt in front of him. The window rolled down. Fadeka. Get in, she shouted. Tunde hesitated for a split second. Could he trust her? He had no choice. He threw himself into the passenger seat, groaning as pain shot through his shoulder. Fadeka hit the gas. The tires screeched as they sped away. Tell me everything, she demanded. Tunde struggled to speak through the pain. We got set up. Dio, he's gone. Fadeke's jaw tightened. I think I know who's behind it. Tunde's head spun. Who? Fadeke took a deep breath. The people you've been working for. They tie up loose ends. You were next. Tunde's stomach twisted. They had planned to kill him all along. A car appeared in the rearview mirror. Black, headlights off. They're following us, Fadek said. gripping the wheel. Tunde's heart pounded. He had escaped the police, but he wasn't safe yet, and now the real fight for survival was about to begin. The black car behind them picked up speed. Fatica swerved through the streets, her hands tight on the wheel. "We need a plan," she said. Tunde winced, gripping his wounded shoulder. "We can't go to the police." Fatica nodded. "I know someone. He can get you out of Nigeria." Tunde turned to her, breathing heavily. "Leave everything behind." "Do you have a choice?" she asked. Tunde clenched his jaw. She was right. Minutes later, they pulled into a dark parking lot. A tall man stepped out of the shadows. Jide. He eyed Tunde. "You look like hell." Tunde glared. "Just get me out of here." Jide nodded. "We'll need fake documents. New name, new life." But before they could continue, Fadek's phone buzzed. Her face went pale. Tunde grabbed the phone. A message flashed on the screen. "Dio is dead." His chest tightened. He had lost his best friend. And now he was next. Jide pulled out a small envelope. "Decide now. If you stay, you won't survive." Tunde exhaled. The life he knew was over. "I'm ready," he said. But deep down he knew this wasn't over yet. Jide handed Tunde a passport with a new name. "You're now Michael Abiola." Tunde stared at it. It felt surreal. He had spent years building his identity, and now it was gone in seconds. "We leave at midnight," Jide said. "No mistakes." But something gnawed at Tunde's mind. Dio's death wasn't random. Someone wanted him silenced. "Who killed him?" Tunde asked. Jide exhaled. "The same people who were after you." Tunde's hands clenched into fists. His life had been ruined by greed, and now he would disappear while they walked free. Fadek touched his arm. "This is your chance to start over." Tunde nodded slowly, but deep inside, he wasn't ready to forgive. Hours later, they arrived at a secluded airstrip. A small plane waited. "This is it," Jide said. Tunde turned to Fadeka. "Will I ever see you again?" She smiled sadly. "Maybe one day." As he stepped onto the plane, his past flashed before him. The betrayal, the blood, the money. Was he really free? The engines roared. The plane took off, and Tunde disappeared into the night. Tunde sat in a hotel room in Accra, staring at the city lights. He was alive. But at what cost? A month had passed. He had a new identity, a clean slate. But the past still haunted him. One evening his phone rang. It was an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A familiar voice spoke. "Tunde, you think it's over?" His blood ran cold. The line went dead. Tunde clenched his jaw. Was he ever truly free? The nightmares still came. The weight of everything he had done. Everything he had lost. It never left. A knock sounded at his door. He grabbed the gun Jide had given him and moved cautiously. When he opened the door, his breath caught. Fatica. She looked exhausted but determined. "You're safe now," she said softly. Tunde exhaled, lowering the gun. "Am I?" Fatica stepped inside, looking around. "I made sure no one followed me. The people after you, they're gone." Tunde let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. For the first time in years, he wasn't running. As the sun rose over Accra, he sat by the window, feeling something unfamiliar. Peace. Maybe, just maybe, he could finally start over. And this time, he would do things right. The moral lesson of this story is that greed and shortcuts to success often lead to destruction. True freedom comes not from running away, but from making the right choices before it's too late.